Hello, wonderful leader. This is Taaka. Welcome to the Leadership in Africa Redefined, the podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Busara Africa, a Pan-African leadership development firm. In every episode of this podcast, we uncover powerful insights, share real-world experiences, and deliver practical strategies to help you excel as a leader. Subscribe to the show to become the leader you have always wanted to be. Enjoy! Hello, and welcome to another episode of Leadership in Africa Redefined Season 3. And I'm super excited today because we have a very special guest that's joining me for this conversation. And I have none other. The person I'm about to introduce, any of the Ghanaians listening to us will know exactly who he is. But for those of you who are outside of Ghana, even I suspect those of you working on accountability and transparency outside of Ghana will also know this name. But for those of you who don't, let me tell you a little bit about my esteemed guest, who is none other than Mr. Daniel Domelevo, who is a renowned Ghanaian accountant and public servant, and his career spans over decades, with 18 years of service at the Controller and Accountants General Department under the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning in Ghana. But Domelevo also worked as a public financial management expert at the World Bank, overseeing projects in Zimbabwe and Malawi, so those of you from Southern Africa might know some of his work. But in 2016, Domelevo was appointed as the Auditor General of Ghana by President John Dramani Mahama. And truly, during his tenure, he championed fearlessly transparency and accountability, earning him recognition and awards. So after leaving office, Domelevo was appointed as board member of the Global Fund, representing Western Central Africa. And most recently, he was appointed a member of the President's ORAL. Now, what does ORAL stand for? Operation Recover All Loot Initiative. It's a 5-member team seeking to address issues of corruption and transparency in Ghana. So ultimately, what you're talking about is you have a fearless champion against corruption in Africa. So this is why I'm so excited to have Mr. Domelevo with us, because truly, if there's one of the top reasons I find that many Africans don't trust their leaders or like to say we have bad leadership in Africa, it's because of this issue of corruption. So I was just so excited to have one of these fearless champions to speak to us more about this. But before we go too further down into the issue of corruption and everything, I would love to hear more about your journey. So first, let me say welcome, Mr. Domelevo. How are you today?
Thank you very much, my dear sister Taaka. I am very fine.
Wonderful. Thank you again so much for making time. I remember we met, my goodness, I think we met almost 15 years ago, isn't it? It's been many, many years. And I've just been watching all the amazing work you've done around corruption, transparency. So tell me a little bit. Let's go back. Can you share a little bit about your leadership journey and what inspired you to take such a strong stand against corruption?
Thank you very much, Taaka, for this opportunity. It has always been my considered opinion that one particular resource that Africa lacks so much, not only Ghana, is that of leadership. We have all the other resources, but when it comes to leadership, which we need most, I think we are lacking in Africa. So throughout my professional career, wherever I got the opportunity, I tried to mobilize people and show them that we have to lead people. And what people need most is not the natural resources. It is not the loans that we go begging for. It is not the technology we are looking for, which we can use well. It's leadership. Because with that leadership, all those things become waste in our hands. Things which should better our lives, at times even endangers our life. So throughout my professional career, qualifying as an accountant in 1992, I have always tried to champion the cause of good leadership, which I look for a leader who is ethical and transformational. Because you can be an ethical leader where you play by the rules, you obey the rules yourself, you have good conduct and everything. But that is not all that followers need. They need transformation. You must be able to better their lot. You must be able to move them from level 1 to level 10. Not to keep them at level 1 and say, oh, I'm still living, we are together. No, people want to see progress in their life. So I've always looked for that opportunity. And I'd led a lot of teams in the public sector when I was working in Accountant General's department under the Ministry of Finance those years. Fortunately, I was given the same opportunity to lead teams when I went to the World Bank. And must be honest with you that their type of leadership is a bit different from what we do as a people to ourselves. There you actually see leadership as someone who is able to harness the strengths of the team and utilize it to better the lot of everybody, not selfish interest, the group interest. You always try to secure the interest of the group and try to get everybody on board. It doesn't matter the levels. In fact, the first shock I had in Zimbabwe, which I should share with you as a leader, I had been a director of payroll, etc., leading teams in Ghana. Then I was employed to the World Bank country office in Zimbabwe. And we had a country team meeting. So that meeting was, I think, around 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. Earlier on, I had gone around with an officer who introduced me to the staff, being newly engaged. So during the meeting, there was this gentleman who chaired the meeting who I didn't see during the rounds. So after the meeting, I approached him and greeted him and said, but you, when I was going around today, I didn't see you. How come they didn't bring me to greet you? And he said, oh, maybe that time he might have gone to the ministries to drop letters. And as to drop letters. And say, anyway, but what is your position? He said, I'm a driver. I said, what? You are a driver chairing a meeting of management where the country manager and director is here? He said, yes. I didn't say anything further. But during break time, I went to engage the country manager. And I asked him, this gentleman deceived me that he's a driver. Tell me he's not. The guy who chaired the meeting this morning, he said, oh, yes, he's a driver. He said, my goodness, he's a driver and he's able to chair the meeting which you, the country manager, you are seated in. And he said, Daniel, it's a teamwork. We must be able to complement each other's effort. Anyone who meets this gentleman has met World Bank. It's not me. Any staff who goes out is the World Bank. So I must be sure that they are all on board to the extent that they can represent the World Bank everywhere at any time. And I was so impressed. And I had a different perspective about leadership. Not the leadership say, go and bring me tea. And interesting, World Bank, nobody is going to make tea for you. When I came back as Auditor General, I found it's very ridiculous. I get out of the car and people even want to take my mobile phone from me and my what do you call it, my laptop. They want to carry it for me. I'm like, my goodness, what is this? You don't need to serve me. We are together. We are a team.
I love this.
So these things, to me, it was a shock. And everybody delivers because they see the role they play. The driver knows that if he doesn't deliver this letter on time, it can affect the institution this way or that way. So everybody is connected. That is the type of leadership we lack in Africa. So when I came back as Auditor General of Ghana, I tried to exemplify the same thing. And I remember the type of pushbacks I got. At a point in time, some deputies will come to me and say, Auditor General, you can't go down and be chatting with drivers. No, you don't go and meet security men. And I said, wait a minute. Are these not the people who are making sure that we are secure in our office? Don't you think our security is in their hands? And you're not interested in how they are faring, what challenges they are facing, and etc. I said, no. I organized them that I had meetings with the drivers, I had meetings with the security officers, the cleaners, etc. In fact, it is through that meeting that I got to know, regrettably, that an institution like Audit Service, which was supposed to ensure compliance with good practice and governance, they engage people on part-time, some for 15 years, they are part-time workers. Because the laws of Ghana says that maximum 6 months, he or she is deemed a permanent worker. But some had worked for 10, 12, 15 good years. So I wrote to Minister of Finance, I can't pretend over illegality. Whilst I am the one who is supposed to ensure people are complying with the law, there's so much illegality in my own house. So I need financial clearance to regularize all this employment. So I regularize it. Taaka, you won't believe that about I think the third or the fourth day, when I was coming to work, I thought there was demonstration. The place was flooded very early. I go to work very early. By 7 a.m. I was there. And the place was flooded by my people. And I said, hey, what have I done wrong? Or what is happening? Then the driver parks the car. Then they came and said, we want to meet you. We are here. We, the people who you have just given, some say life. They say, we are dead and you gave us life. We want to meet you. And so, oh, I didn't even know who the people were, but I heard the problem. And I thought I've solved the problem. So these guys met me very early by 7 a.m. just to say thank you. In fact, they actually wrote a letter which was heartwarming, that some of them never thought they will ever have full-time job. But here comes, they are holding their appointment letters and etc. So the problem we have in Africa is we think that being in leadership position, it means we have the opportunity now to exploit the system, the people, the resources for our good. And we don't think about the others. So that is the challenge. And let me tell you a very small story about my father, who shared leadership example with me. And my father is an illiterate. He didn't go to school, but he was a village champion. You can't beat him in the village. Everybody will listen to him as against you, because he has actually managed to take leadership role, though he was not a chief. Even the chief comes to him. Many times, if you want to be sure that what he's going to do will be accepted, the chief will come to him and say, look, guide me how to go about this. So he called me and said to me in 1992 that, Daniel, I'm told that you have gotten a certain qualification. That time I qualified as a chartered accountant, and you are going to become a big man. I have an advice for you. I said, Daddy, please go ahead. And he said, I want to give you the advice in the form of a story or a tale. And he said to me, if you are a leader, if you are the chief, if you are the father in the house, and they bring eggs, assuming you are the chief, they bring eggs to the palace and you take all. Another time they bring fowls, chicken, you take all for yourself. Next time, goat, sheep, you take all. The day the cow arrives, the people will fight you. They say, we won't sit down and allow you to continue cheating us. They will fight you, so you can't eat the beef, or you can't have the cow to yourself. They will fight you vehemently. On the other way around, Daniel, if they bring the eggs and you share it among them, When the fowl comes, you share it. The goat and the sheep, you share it. When the cow arrives, they'll say, let's reserve this for the chief. In fact, the people themselves will fight and say, eat it. And he added a very interesting comment that as you eat, they'll be clapping for you. They'll be happy for you that you are now eating.
Wow.
Otherwise, don't ever forget the people you are with. You are useless as a leader if you don't have a follower.
Powerful. Go
Yes.
ahead. Even though
And
I
that
want, go
and that
ahead.
has driven me all throughout. And you won't believe that as Auditor General, I negotiated salary for my deputies, which was even higher than my own salary. Because my salary is supposed to be determined by a committee set up by the president. So they determine the salary of the Auditor General and Article 71 office holders. But I'm supposed to determine the salary of my staff together with the board and negotiated theirs higher. People thought I was crazy.
Amazing, amazing. And apologies for interrupting, but you've said so much. I need a moment to process the richness of what you have shared just in that. In just sharing that short journey and and I love the stories. So these are some of the things I am hearing from these powerful stories you've shared.
Yep.
One is that what we need on this continent in terms of leadership. And no, in fact, your first message is that it's not even so much the natural resources, it's not the technology. What will really unleash the potential of Africa is solid, ethical, and transformational leadership. And you're like, it's not just ethical, it also has to be transformational. That's the first key message I'm getting from you.
Yep.
The second message I'm getting from you, and this is something I want to test, because what I'm hearing implicit in what you're saying, it's not that Africans are not capable of good leadership, because your Zimbabwean story, which I'm sure in that World Bank office, there were lots of Zimbabweans that were there. That driver was Zimbabwean. I'm not sure where that country manager was. But what I'm hearing,
Country manager was a Kenyan.
he was a Kenyan. So those are all Africans there. But when I'm hearing the Zimbabwean World Bank example contrasted with when you got to the Auditor General, everyone rushing to carry your phone, get you tea, all of that. There is something about leadership culture, and that a leadership culture that fosters it's all about me. I'm here to be served, and it's just grab, then becomes problematic. So I start to wonder, and I think that will be my next question around, is the solution to the conundrum around leadership to shape the culture? Because clearly at that time, the Zim World Bank office had a leadership culture where it was expected, go get your own coffee. Everybody can be a leader. Everybody can speak. Whereas there's something different that was going on in the public sector. So that's the second thing I'm hearing. There's something about culture. The third message I'm hearing from you is that the mindset for leadership that we need is about you're there to serve your people, your followers, whatever word and I love the way your dad said it, but it's almost, those were your words. And that story, I will repeat that story and I will tell people that it's from your dad. It's not my story about the eggs and the thing. But the story is, you're useless as a leader unless you're really serving your followers.
Exactly.
And so there's something about that mindset to get in our heads that the role of leadership is servant. It's servant leadership. Yeah. So as I distill all those lessons from those powerful stories that you're telling, my next question is, given that leadership culture is such a powerful determinant of leadership behavior, and clearly there's something problematic about the leadership culture we're seeing in the public sector, why do you think corruption remains such a deep-rooted issue amongst our leaders? Is it a leadership culture issue, or is this something else I am missing?
Leadership is the cause. The effect is any other thing which happens. Once you have a good leader, you have good organization and outcomes. Bad leader, you will get bad organization and outcomes. The crisis we have faced in public sector in Africa and in Ghana is nothing more than one word. It's leadership crisis. We cannot fight corruption if leadership is not right. Because how on earth will you be able to say, I am running a corruption-free government, but I myself am corrupt? It's not possible. People hear you, but they watch you better. They look at your way of doing things. And I always tell people who are in leadership, are your followers aware of your voice? Do they know your voice? Do they know your voice in the sense that, can I go and tell Taaka that Daniel say I should do this, and Taaka will say, no, Daniel will never say that. That is the voice I'm talking about. If Daniel is not there, say, no, we know our leader. He can't say that. Oh, if this is coming from Daniel, then we will do it. That's the question I keep asking. Have you been able to build some integrity for yourself so that people can trust you? And if you don't mind, I'll quickly tell you about my concept about leadership. And one of the attributes I talk about, I put it in an acronym, FATHER. I say every leader must be a father. First, if you want to be an ethical and transformation leader, you must be fair. That is the F in the father. You must be fair. You cannot just do things anyhow, discriminating against people, and people would like to be in your team. So you must be fair. You must be accountable. That is the A. Accountable here means show resource for the resources that have been given to you and hold people accountable. Ask yourself and your followers, what have we to show for the position we are holding and the resources entrusted into our hands? So accountability is very, very important. Then you must be transformational. Remember the T, very, very important. If you are transformational, then it means people can see their future in you because you brought them from level 1 to 5. If you promise them 20, they will believe it because they know you are visionary. And you are not only having a vision, but you are able to realize that vision in reforming or changing their lot. So you must be transformational as a leader. Then the H, you must be honest. A leader must be honest. Where you are not capable, you must let the people know, I'm a human being. As for this area, I can't. Not to be the type where I tell politicians, promising to build a bridge where there are no rivers. You don't do that. So be honest. Say, guys, in this one we failed. We are sorry. And this is what we are doing. So to address the situation. So a good leader must be honest. You can't say you are a good leader and people say that, as for this guy, he's a great liar. No, nobody will trust you because trust is very important. So honesty is very important. Then the E, you must be equitable. There must be equity in sharing opportunities, awarding people, rewarding people, and creating opportunities. There must be equity. There can be equality. In some cases, they say equality. It will not be equal. We must look at our relative capabilities. And like I always tell government, when you buy 4-wheel drives for your ministers, what about the Ghanaian taxpayer? Have you thought about them? You won't even fix the road for them to be able to use their bicycles and their vehicles. Must be at least equitable. When you build interchanges in Accra, at least pave the road in my village for them also to be able to move. They're also Ghanaians. So there must be a relative equity. There can be equal. I can't say that go and build an interchange in my village because they don't need it in the first place. But there must be equity. So every good leader must think about equity. You must do that. Then the last one, which is very important to me in the father, the R, is what? Respect. Every leader must respect the contrary opinion and the opinions of his followers and harness it. Many times, I remember as Auditor General, many of the problems, if not all, I had my own solution, but I'll never go into a management meeting and tell them that this is how we are going to do this. I tell them the problem and ask, how do you think we solve this? And you see, there will be different versions and opinion and etc. At the end of the day, I take the one which aligns with my thinking and modify it to make sure I address the other opinions and etc. I've stolen ideas from them to polish my own. So even if you are identical twins, you don't think the same way. So a leader must be aware that we have difference in ideology. We have difference in exposure, knowledge, and education, everything. Therefore, you must be respectful. You should know how to communicate with people, not to disrespect them. Issues like, do you also, can you also be this? Or what do I need from you? No, every member of the team is important. And the beautiful one I take from the accounts, which I normally tell them, that they say the fingers, they are all important, but they are not the same. Each of the fingers is separate, but they come together. And when they come together, this is a big team, a strong team. None of them is the same. So father is a very important thing. Being fair, accountable, transformational, honest, equitable, and respectful as a leader, fantastic.
As a leader, making decisions and solving problems can sometimes feel overwhelming. Having a thinking partner to help you reflect, gain clarity, and take charge of your situation is essential for personal and professional growth. This is where coaching comes in. At Busara Africa, we offer executive coaching guided by the ethics of the International Coaching Federation. Our internationally certified coaches bring years of experience and mastery of the coaching process, empowering you to take control of your leadership journey. Contact us today at www.busara-africa.com.
Are you doing too much? Feeling overwhelmed, yet still questioning if you're doing enough? Leading from within, the inner work of leadership is here to help. This monthly online program helps leaders like you build self-awareness, master emotional intelligence, and lead with confidence. With expert-led masterclasses, practical tools, and a curated resource library, you'll gain insights to lead with authenticity and impact on your schedule. So take a breath and join me on a powerful journey of inner work required to thrive and find your joy as a leader. Join now on www.busara-africa.com. I love that, Father. Fair, accountable, transformational, honest, equitable, and respectful. Powerful, powerful. Okay, I want to build on that now, because what I'm hearing from you, in fact, you started the response to the question where you said leadership is the cause, everything else is the effect. And what you really need is that transformational leader to begin with. As you tell your story, even when you told your story about your father, it already, and I know you're a devout Catholic, already gives me a sense that your sense of integrity and your values were not something that you developed overnight. These were probably things that you were raised with, family, religion, your culture, all of that education built you into who you are today, this kind of transformational ethical leader. Mr. Domelevo, when you entered the Auditor General's office, you realized that not every leader in that office was blessed with the same type of socialization and upbringing. As a leader, what did you need to do to ensure that everybody then displayed the father principles in their leadership?
Very simple. As a leader, you must be an influencer, able to influence people. You must be able to change their way of doing things, not with a cane or with a gun, but by engaging. And many times, I remember very well, if any of my deputies will be watching this, they will tell you, some tell me that, say, you have a lot of learning to do if you want to hear from us on everything. And I say, yes, I keep learning to the day I die. I don't know it all. As the Auditor General, it doesn't, in fact, being the Auditor General does not even know that does not mean that I know auditing even to your level. So I'm ready to learn. Tell me, what is it? But then what they know is, after you have taught me, you'll be ready for questions. You must be ready for questions. And questions will definitely follow. And most of the times, the leadership style was a bit of a dictatorial type. Dictatorship was what I met, more or less. Once the top man speaks, and I tell them that, look, we have to change that style. If you don't respect the people below you, you may give them a bad command and they will go and execute it in your name. So get feedback from even the instructions you have given them. Get them involved in the decision making. They will own the process. It's no more yours. Let them understand. In fact, one of the things I try to change is this perception of the minister is not there, Auditor General is not there, so everything comes to a standstill. I said, no, a good leader is the one whose system still function in his or her absence. So I tell them, when you come to work as a driver, this is your job. Do it. Do it as if it is your job or you own the enterprise. If you are even a cleaner, clean as if you are cleaning your own house, because you are part of the process, and I'll appreciate you. And at times they are surprised that in the course of the morning, they are cleaning, and before you realize, I tap your back and greet you. So congratulations, you are doing very fantastic work. Early this morning, you have cleaned all this place, God bless you, and you see the person is so happy throughout the day, and she wants to even do more. So I met a bit militant type of leadership, but within a year, it changed, where now it was acceptable that the junior ranks can meet with the Auditor General. So I was not encouraging my middle levels, go and meet them. Don't close your doors. It should not be. In fact, I operated an open door policy. I said, how can I be leading you and have locked my doors? You must be able to come when you have a problem. You must be able to run to me as a leader and say, what do we do? Maybe I don't have the solution. I call another guy who comes in and apply the solution. So I cannot lock the door in front of you. This is the problem we have in Ghana and in Africa. And in my considered opinion, if there is one thing we have to grow or nurture in Africa, it's leadership at all levels. Public officers, people who are holding official positions in government and in private sector, most of them have to go back and learn leadership. We must introduce leadership in our universities. We must introduce leadership at our secondary schools, even at our primary schools, because we have leaders from the house everywhere. There's leadership rule. And we play it so badly. Let me share a quick story with you again. Just about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, no, about 2 months before I traveled, I was in the church early in the morning, and a child dropped or fell in the pew, what we sit on in the church, fell in the pew. And I expected the mother to carry this baby up, and oh, my daughter, she rather gave the baby a slap at the bottom, up. And I was like, oh my God, what kind of training is this you are going to give this child? When this child grows and becomes violent in society, you understand it. You are training the child. When the child falls and needed your love most, is this how to express it? Then it occurred to me, do you think that the mother doesn't love the child? I don't think so. Maybe she thinks that is how to do it. So it's better I engage this mother. So I greeted her. I never knew her. I greeted her after church and asked how she was doing and a little bit of conversation. Then I zoomed into what happened in the church. And I said, I saw how this baby fell and how you reacted. Uh, how many children do you have? She said she has a second one, so 2 children. I said, at least I have more children than you. I have 3, so I can teach you some things. That the way you reacted to the child, I know it hurt you that your child fell, but you showed violence instead of showing love. So next time, pick this child, put hair on your chest, and caress the child, and etc. And even find out just in case there's some fracture or something of that nature. You may not know what will have happened to this child. And the woman was like, "Oh, I'm very grateful." And so, so we need a lot of teaching. We have assumed that qualification is the same as leadership. He has PhD in accounting, PhD in Zuzu and so. That is not leadership. So we must, as a people throughout the continent, make conscious effort to plant leadership everywhere. And I am very sure that if we do that, we will by all means get 1 or 2, which will come up well and pull all of us.
Oh, I love this. You know, as an organization, a company that our focus is leadership development, what you're saying is song to my ears because we believe the same. That leadership is not something that you just wake up because you're given a title or a role and you know leadership. But I want to take you back to, and again, your stories are such powerful symbols and metaphors for some of the key issues. Back to the mother in church.
Yes. Yes.
And as you said, her hitting her child is a reflection of what she has known, the way she's been socialized to parent. Just the same way we see managers, other public sector leaders who have always known that this is the way we do things around here. This is what we do. When you come here, you whatever. So that's what I meant earlier about this leadership culture. I think you describe it as a leadership style you found. Follow-up questions on that. Number one, I have encountered a lot of leaders who sought to do the same thing you did. You come in, you try and influence with a different type of style, and you get a lot of resistance. Or what they have found is while they're there, things change, but as soon as they leave, things go back to normal. So my question to you is, did you face any resistance as you sought to change the culture? Because what I heard you say, not just the leadership, it was the work ethic, the whole culture of the Auditor General's office. Did you face resistance? How did you deal with that resistance? And number 2 is, how did you, or how does one institutionalize change so that it remains beyond one's tenure or position in office?
Yeah, it's always true that whenever you want to introduce change, you will meet a pushback. Change management is one of the skills that you must learn as a leader, because people will definitely resist change because of the uncomfortable situation they find themselves. And again, they don't know what is going to happen as a result of the change. They may lose their importance. And many times they are even benefiting from, I tell people, when you see a disorder in public service, there is a lot of order in it. You may see it as a disorder. There's a lot of order. People are benefiting from that disorder. They know exactly why they have made the system so clumsy. They know it. So changing it means that they are going to lose those premiums that they have been benefiting from unduly. So you must first and foremost be tenacious yourself. There's need to be there's the need for tenacity. You must be determined to win. Otherwise, they will win you. So that is one. And you must know how to effect the change. It must be a gradual process. It cannot be from 0 to 100. The change must not be too fast. It must also not be too slow. Otherwise, it will lose momentum. So you must target that by the end of 3 months or 6 months, I must achieve this. And I must make sure I am at this level. So that was not easy. And at times I even ask myself, am I going to be successful? And immediately I answer yes. I never lose. I won't lose a battle, for I'm going to be successful. And at times you find the person who is resisting the change most, at the end comes back to you and say, now I understand you. I get where you are coming from. And you know, one of the things I try to do to bring them on board is I just ask you, Taaka, you consider when you were at that level and your superior was doing this to you, did you like it? Immediately you say no, I say, So this is your time to change the world and make the world a better place. You and I have the mandate now to ensure that people coming after us do not suffer what we went through. That is my biggest pain when I watch TV or when I encounter public officers who tell you or tell us, do you remember what they were doing to us? So why are you complaining? They justify their wrongdoings with other people's wrongdoing. Recently, I was watching TV and somebody said, do you know how they arrested me in a Rambo style and what? And I'm like, so did you like it? If you didn't like it and now the power is in your hands, why don't you use it to do something good? And a gentleman actually in parliament told His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, the former president, that you have shown us how not to govern. So when I got the opportunity, I said, yes, he has shown us how not to govern. NDC should show us how to govern. It's not only about showing us how not to. We need examples. We need good practices. We need good examples that we can cite and say, when you were the Minister of Finance, when you were the Minister of Defense, things were okay. So that challenge will always be there. But the good thing about life is that if you are able to get someone to repeat some behaviors, some practices, after a short while, it becomes a behavior. And you have changed the person's mindset forever. So once it continues for not a week, not for a month, not for a year, but years, before you realize, people start doing. When I came to Auditor General, for instance, one of the first things I noticed, people came to work very late, some 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, they are now coming to work. So, Taaka, you know what I do? Around 7:30, getting to 8 o'clock, I will come to your office and will leave a note that I came here to say hello to you, and I put the date and time. But when you come, please see me immediately. So when you, and come with the note. So when you come with the note, I ask you, Taaka, what time did I come look, if it's looking for you? You say 7:30. And I say, and what time is it now? I say 10:30. So I say, so you mean you can come to work 3.5 hours late? They say, I'm sorry. I say, I'm happy to hear that. Since you are sorry, I'm sure today is the last day. And it is not your duty to only ensure that you come to work every day early. Make sure your subordinates, all those who are under you, you are bringing them to work early. Before I left as Auditor General, at times I went there before 7 o'clock and almost everybody's at work. So you can easily change behavior, especially when you allow people to do it over and over again. After some time, you don't need to put handcuffs or guns to their head. They will do it themselves. Thank you.
Amazing. And again, your stories always elicit, and I want to pick up on this last one. I love that. The note on their desk with the time, because to me, that note was a symbol of accountability.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
often I find that in shaping culture, a key thing is being willing to do what you've shared, having conversations with people, empathy, coaching them. But it's also at the same time being willing to say, hey, there are consequences to this. So my question is this around accountability. Number one, what are the type of consequences you were willing to have available so that people realized that, hey, unless you got in line in terms of the desired behavior, then there will be an issue. But number two, coming back to the issue of corruption, for many of our listeners or audience who are watching or listening to this episode, they're not in many of them may not be in the public sector, they may not be politicians. They complain about the corruption of their public sector leaders, but they have no idea how to hold them accountable or how to be part of shaping the governance system so that there is more accountability, so that we have more leaders that are like what you described, who are both ethical and transformative. So I know that was a mouthload, but
No,
let me, yeah, yeah.
that is fine. To ensure accountability, I use the carrot and stick approach. I don't use only the stick. At times I use the carrot. I see you do something good, I reward you immediately. I say, oh, you have been able to do this. You are going to do that also. I remember there was a lady who led a team for an audit. And normally before coming for an audit, they will have announced officially writing to the institution that this audit is going to commence on this date at this time. And there was always an entrance conference and whatnot. All that was arranged. And this lady went for the audit, and they tried to influence her because they knew their records were not good. Water had passed under the bridge. So they wanted to influence her to say, look, we can just give you an envelope. You don't need to do the audit. You write your papers and forget it. And she said, no, 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 no. Now she was even more determined to do the audit. So the lady led the audit, and the findings were terrible, what she brought out of that audit. And it was brought to my attention. I reviewed her report myself. I said, give me a copy of the report. I want to read it. So they gave me the report. And I called her and asked her, what made you so steadfast and determined to do this? Because it's dangerous. They even offered you money you didn't take. He say, I look up to you. I see your type of leadership. And I wish I'm like you. So every time it was telling me, Mr. Domelevo will not do this. So I will also not do it. So I said, thank you very much. There is an opportunity for a team of 5 to do a foreign mission audit. I'm sending you to UK to go and do an audit. Go and determine the remaining 4 members of your team. Bring them. I'm sending all of you to UK to go and do an audit. She almost collapsed in my office. Said, to UK? She never imagined that she would be. I said, no, that is the team which is going. No matter what anybody says, it's your team. I must always encourage the winning team. So that became a benchmark for everybody wanting to do something to catch the eye of the Auditor General. So there was motivation. The carrot was very attractive. It was not just the cane. The carrot, many times we tend in Africa to like the cane too much. The carrot is also important. People enjoy the carrot. So you reward them, you recognize them, and they would like to go beyond the limits. So that is important. Then coming to the issue of corruption. Corruption is one thing which hurts everybody. In fact, it does not only hurt the government. In fact, it hurts the government very little. In fact, it is the citizens who suffer from corruption. And the citizens, unfortunately, do not know that the people in government are called public servants. Their job is to serve the interests of the public. So we must open up and challenge people holding public office and ask, is this the best way to do your work? I differ with you. And if there is an opportunity, speak on radio, speak on TV. That's why I don't stop talking. Because I said that as we even speak, see how they are behaving. What do you think will happen if you stop talking about them? So we should all come together as Africans and hold our public officers accountable. Most importantly, like the Ghanaians did in December, if they are not happy with the government, vote him out in a way that they see that, yes, Ghanaians don't like you. And if the current government repeats the same thing, I pray Ghanaians, 2028, do the same thing to them. It is not about you, it's about what you do. If you do what we don't like, we will ditch you. And I think the only thing, the main thing that politicians fear is to be in opposition. So let's send them into opposition. We must change them, like a friend of mine said, let's change them the way people change their diapers. Sorry for using that word. So let's keep changing them. And they realize that they will come to realize that we are their leaders. So many times in Africa and in Ghana, people see things which are going on wrongly and they decide to mind their own business. If you say you are minding your business, I'm minding my business, the country will collapse. We must rather come together. I have a bishop who I revere so much, an archbishop in the Catholic Church. He said, silence over great moral issues is itself a decision. If you decide not to take sides on issues of great moral importance, you have actually silently acquainted or is acquiescence of evil from his point of view. And the only reason why evil strives in our society is because the good people like you and I, we are tired. So I was telling a friend of mine, an anti-corruption crusader 3 days ago, he said he's tired with Ghana. I said, you can't be tired. The evildoer is not yet tired and you are tired. No way. We must continue. So it is our collective voice that will let that Mr. Minister, that Mr. President, Mr. Chief Director know that he is supposed to serve our interests and not his interests. And I actually tell people, when it becomes too much after we have spoken and they are not listening, they should mobilize in their number because demonstrations, etc., is a civil right. Let's inform the police that 5 days after this, we are marching to the office of the Auditor General, or we are marching to the Attorney General's office. We are not happy with his behavior. We are marching to the Parliament and tell them, you are representing yourselves, not us. Start representing us. We must take that civil duty and exercise it to the word. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Daniel Domelevo, you are such an inspiration. You truly are. You know, I could continue talking to you forever, but I think today you have given us such gems. The way you've led us from describing the kind of leadership Africa needs, using your own example and how you sought to influence the type of leadership style and culture you found there in the private sector. And I will always remember father as a key principle, and an acronym to guide the type of leadership that's needed. You've reminded us in terms of accountability around both the carrot and stick being important. And as we ended this conversation, you really came back to all of us to say, look, if we want to see that quality of leadership within public sector in terms of our own accountability, we all need our collective voice and action. As the bishop said, silence is itself a decision. Mr. Domelevo, thank you so much for who you are, what you stand for your continued commitment to accountability, transparency, but for most of all, being that example. Remember that lady who you sent to London and she said, oh, I look at you, for being that example of the leadership Africa needs and desires. So, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss notifications to subsequent shows. Thank you for joining us, and thank you so much, Mr. Daniel Domelevo. Thank you all. Ciao. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Leadership in Africa Redefined, the podcast. I hope you learned a lot. And if you found value in this conversation, share it with a friend and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you would like further support on your leadership journey, please get in touch. You can find us on busara-africa.com. And don't forget to follow Busara Africa on all social media platforms.